Welcome to the Restricted Handling podcast. Let's dig in. Here's what's been going on in Russia in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, we talked about how Moscow's winter air campaign spikes every time diplomacy gets mentioned. Today, we're seeing the political version of that same reflex. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov came out and essentially said the quiet part out loud. Russia's war aims haven't narrowed at all. In fact, they've expanded. Beyond Crimea and the Donbas, Lavrov explicitly folded Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Mykolaiv, and Odesa into what Russia considers negotiable territory. That's not a shift, it's a clarification. If yesterday was about Russia using missiles to shape the battlefield during talks, today is about Russia using words to box negotiations into a corner before they even start. This matters because it coincides with reporting that U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner may try to take updated peace proposals directly to Moscow. Lavrov's timing wasn't subtle. He also dismissed any temporary ceasefire ideas, including time-limited pauses or election-related truces. So Russia keeps calling for Ukrainian elections while rejecting the conditions that would allow Ukraine to hold them. It's the diplomatic equivalent of demanding a house inspection while actively setting the kitchen on fire. Now here's the update that undercuts all that confidence. Russia's battlefield pace has slowed. Yesterday, we described a grinding war of meters and manpower. Today, we can put a finer point on it. Russian territorial gains peaked in early December and have steadily declined into January. Winter is hitting the Russian model hard. Their reliance on long-range infantry infiltration, small assault groups, and foot movement across exposed terrain just doesn't scale well when temperatures plunge. December's surge looks increasingly like a command-driven push to hit year-end objectives, not a sustainable operational rhythm. On the most recent reporting day, neither side made confirmed advances. That doesn't mean the fighting stopped. It means the cost per meter is climbing fast. So Moscow is compensating the way it usually does: narrative pressure. We flagged this yesterday in the context of energy and missile strikes. Today, it shows up along the border. Russia has been loudly claiming the seizure of tiny villages in northern Sumy and Kharkiv oblasts, branding them as new buffer zones. Independent assessments aren't seeing the prep work you'd expect for a real northern offensive. No sustained air interdiction, no mass redeployments, no logistics buildup. These are pinprick actions being sold as something bigger, aimed less at Kyiv and more at Western audiences. The message is simple: the front is collapsing. Victory is inevitable. Don't overthink it. Same playbook, updated map graphics. Energy warfare remains the most immediate pressure point, and this is very much an update to yesterday's discussion, not a repeat. Ukraine has now formally declared a nationwide energy emergency. Russian strikes are still coming, and the cold has made the impact far more severe. Temperatures near -20 Celsius turn power outages from inconvenience into existential risk. Kyiv moved fast. Round-the-clock repair crews, more emergency heating points, increased electricity imports, and accelerated procurement from abroad. Zelensky publicly criticized Kyiv's city leadership for not preparing enough, which sparked a public dispute with the mayor. It's messy, but it's also real governance under fire, not scripted resilience theater. At the same time, Ukraine confirmed it will not restrict gas supplies. That's a key detail that wasn't fully clear yesterday. Electricity is strained, but gas is flowing thanks to imports from Europe and LNG from the US. That decision buys political stability. Keeping homes heated matters as much as holding trenches in a winter war. And then there's the mirror image we hinted at yesterday. Russia is now experiencing the same kind of civilian energy pain it's been inflicting for years. Ukrainian strikes hit infrastructure in Russia's Belgorod region, knocking out power, water, and mobile communications for hundreds of thousands. Regional officials openly admitted they can't fully restore services and warned residents to prepare for evacuation. The response was telling. Blame bounced between municipal leaders, businesses, and shadowy internal enemies. It looked a lot like early war Russian reactions in occupied Ukrainian cities, just with VK comments instead of Telegram videos. When the war stops being abstract, the cracks show fast. Inside Ukraine's government, yesterday we talked about strain. Today we're seeing institutional response. Kyiv confirmed major leadership changes. Mikhailo Fedorov is now defense minister, with a mandate to push tech-driven reform, prioritize air defense, scale drone production, and clean up procurement. Fedorov didn't sugarcoat the problem. He publicly acknowledged massive desertion, widespread conscription evasion, bureaucratic drag, and funding gaps. Martial law and mobilization were extended again. This isn't optimism, it's planning for endurance. That reform push is colliding with politics. The anti-corruption probe into former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko escalated, with investigators accusing her of running a systematic vote-buying scheme aimed at fracturing Zelensky's parliamentary majority. She denies it and says it's politically motivated. Regardless of where the case lands, the timing is combustible. There's growing talk of elections if a ceasefire ever materializes, and Moscow will absolutely exploit any hint of internal division. But these investigations are also the price of Western support. Ukraine doesn't get EU money or IMF backing without showing teeth on corruption, and that backing is holding. The European Union finalized a massive loan framework that will fund both Ukraine's military and basic government functions. The quiet but important update here is flexibility. Ukraine can buy weapons outside Europe if EU suppliers can't deliver. That keeps U.S. air defense and long-range systems in play. The IMF chief's visit to Kyiv reinforced that donors still see Ukraine as financially viable, even with defense spending eating more than a quarter of GDP. Beyond Ukraine, Russia continues to push pressure outward. Poland revealed that a Russian cyber attack nearly caused a nationwide blackout in late December by targeting energy grid control systems, especially those linked to renewables. This wasn't noisy ransomware. It was quiet, coordinated, and close to catastrophic. Polish officials called it sabotage. That fits a pattern we've talked about before, shaping the battle space before any kinetic escalation, reminding NATO states that the war doesn't stop at Ukraine's borders. Diplomatically, Moscow expelled yet another British diplomat, accusing him of espionage. London called it baseless. It's the 9th such expulsion since 2024. Add that to the strange death of a Russian embassy employee in Cyprus reportedly tied to military intelligence, and you get a picture of a very active counterintelligence environment. Lots of signaling, lots of deniability, very little subtlety. The digital battlefield keeps evolving too, and this is a refinement of yesterday's cyber story. Russian intelligence is leaning harder into direct recruitment via messaging apps. Instead of mass phishing, they're contacting individuals personally, offering crypto payments for compartmentalized tasks, surveillance, arson, logistics. Some recruits are minors. At the same time, Kremlin-linked hackers are posing as charities and reaching out directly to Ukrainian military personnel through trusted platforms like Signal and WhatsApp, delivering malware disguised as documents. It's quieter, more personal, and much harder to filter. Old-school tradecraft with modern delivery. Thanks so much for listening and for being part of the RH community. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribing, leaving a quick 5-star review, or sharing it with someone you know makes a huge difference. It's how this network will grow. We also publish a daily written intel brief on Substack, where you'll find even deeper coverage of Russia and China, along with insights on the Middle East and the DPRK. This is free for Substack subscribers. Starting January 16th, new Substack subscribers will move to a paid model. If you're already subscribed on Substack before then, nothing changes. You'll keep full access to everything, free, forever. New subscribers after January 15th will receive the daily written brief, weekly deep dives on economics, sanctions, and more for a monthly fee. So if you're not on Substack yet, don't worry. Just head to restrictedhandling.com and subscribe now for free and get the content free forever.